If you're going to be creating a presentation or handout for the project, I'd like to go over some guidelines and helpful hints to help you that is basically a review from the previous sessions that I've had. So you'll create a presentation that will be useful for your students on a topic that you're teaching, and the presentation can be made with any software or application on the web, and you'll create a notes handout that's coordinating with that presentation that will be a helpful aid to those students. There's some previous resources that you can use as review that if you don't understand some of the things that in terms that I go through, you can review from previous sessions with these guidelines. And these are can be found in the course or in the description of the video. And here's a matrix that you can use to self-assess and self-grade your presentation. And the 4 categories are things that a good or great presentation will have, or your notes handout. And then 3 it will mostly have, 2 somewhat, and 1 it doesn't really contain that. What I'm going to do is go through each of these categories and what to look for. The first is graphics. Some students are visual learners, and 1 or 2 graphics on a slide can sometimes be enough to trigger a memory or trigger a relation to the content that you're trying to communicate. It allows you as the presenter to really explain what that graphic represents. If you do use graphics, make sure that they're appropriate size, whether not too big and not too small, depending on the purpose of the graphic. You also want to make sure it's coordinating colors, it's not too vibrant, and the quality of the graphics. Graphics that are pixelated or ones with watermarks can often distract and detour presentation. And with the graphics, make sure they support the theme and content. Make sure they're not too distracting. Another area that you should focus on for presentations is your backgrounds. Now you want to choose something that's not too loud and something with contrasting color to the font text color. The key is making sure that the text is readable on that background. So a background that has too much graphics behind it may not be the right choice. And with the theme and content, make sure that it's appropriate to the subject and the content that you are relating. A text and typography is very important. You want to make sure you don't use too many colors. Make sure if you use bold titles that they're all bold. Use no more than 4 fonts. You don't want to be too crazy with your fonts as well. And with their font families, make sure they're either all on sans or sans serifs and not conflicting with each other. Bullets are important. 5 bullets or less. If you have too many bullets, you're going to lose a person's attention. 5 words per less. And again, this is general rules. I do know that you may be creating a presentation where it's more content driven. It's for the reader's benefit, for them to maybe just read it. But if you're going to present using this presentation that you're creating, you want to be able to give the content to the audience. So that's why you want 5 words or less, and you fill in the missing words. And no more than 20 words per slide maximum. So if you do have a lot of words, that can be overbearing. Proximity is very important in creating your presentation, or especially your handout. You want to be able to group similar content. So for example, if you have your heading content, group that and make sure that there's gaps in between the other areas of the presentation or the handout. And use white space effectively. Try not to clutter things up. If you need more room, make more room. Don't try to push things together. Visual flow is very important, and that's what has the visual meaning to a presentation or handout. Remember that your eye reads something from top left to right bottom, and so make sure that your eyes are drawn to those areas when choosing where to place your content. And as you place your content, make sure there's visual markers or cues or space that connects those things together. And you want to try to avoid disconnected space. If there's too much awkward space in between 2 areas, you want to try to avoid that so you can keep the learner's attention. Now colors are important because remember, you want to make sure that you have a good color scheme. And you may not remember the color schemes maybe from art class, but remember there's tools and apps that you can use that will choose the color scheme for you, and whether that's complementary colors or analogous colors, choose colors that work well together and use the tools to help you. And choose those colors based on the scheme and the content of the presentation. So again, these are just some suggestions and when you create your presentation and handout. And I do suggest that you look at those resources as a review, and hopefully that will help you in your endeavors to create professional presentation handouts that are effective for student learning.